What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys a video today on What If Bardock Became King Part 2. In the last part, we covered mostly backstory and setup for the Saiyans and how life changed with Bardock as a king. We'll explain the most important stuff, being that of the Saiyan rebellion starting up, and then discussing a plan, which is of course where we left off. If you'd like it in much more detail, I implore you to go and watch Part 1. The plan of action is set with 3 different squads set up. When given a mission, Broly and Toro would be the only 2 to go on them. Try not to spend too long on the mission, and return back to the base at the same time to make it appear they all were there together. The second group would be Tarbell and Raditz, the most diplomatic of the group. Their task is to set up a base of operations for the cube, so they can go under the radar. After careful examination, Raditz comes across a planet known as a mecha. Both Raditz and Tarbell will head to this planet wearing undercover clothing to avoid being seen as Frieza soldiers and Saiyans. They'd both maneuver through the planet and see all the architecture as well as the annoying townspeople. Eventually, they'd arrive at the room of the leader by destroying the roof and entering, arriving upon a certain Don Key as well as his 2 henchmen. They all look in fear as Raditz and Tarbell remove their disguises, revealing themselves to have tails. Tarbell, however, calms them, telling them that they aren't here on any invasion or under the orders of Lord Frieza. Raditz will then approach Don Key to take over negotiations. Us Saiyans have decided on a revolution of sorts to overthrow Frieza. While we don't require the help of weaklings like you, your planet is our Frieza's circle of influence, and has the perfect disguise to allow us to hide here. So in return for harboring us, we'll grant you and your people complete immunity to both Frieza and our armies. Don Key would immediately accept these terms, still afraid of Raditz, but also afraid of Frieza. Raditz grins, telling him that he made the right decision. Finally, we have our final duo, being that of Kakarot and Nappa. Their job is to gather members for the army, as without people, they'll become easily defeated. Both Kakarot and Nappa travel to several different planets in hope of establishing some kind of army. While they probably get a couple weaklings to their cause, they don't exactly have anyone of substance who will make or break an empire. Eventually, the duo split up, looking for a planet, arriving in some very lucky places. Nappa would arrive on planet Yardrat and begin scouting around for people to join him. While most of the Yardrats fear Nappa, he tries so hard to talk to them. Unfortunately, words aren't his strong suit, and he can't negotiate with them. That's when none other than Paibara appears using instant transmission. He calms the people, stating how Nappa did not come here without malice. He has some bigger reason to be here. Nappa tries explaining to Paibara, who sees this as a waste of time. After reading his mind, Paibara understands exactly what's happening and offers his services. While he isn't exactly strong, the Yardrats do possess some unique abilities. In the hands of the right guy, it could potentially be the winning factor. At this, Nappa smiles. I didn't understand a word you said, but I know it means good. Due to needing an army, Paibara requests the help of any Yardratians who is capable of battle or who wishes to be there. While most of the women and children remain on the planet, the rest of them would all be transported to a mecha for the army. Over with Kakarot, he'd arrive on some backwards planet where people for some reason eat bats. I'm of course talking about Earth. When Kakarot arrives on Earth, he'd immediately be jumped by what appears to be green demons. Kakarot tries to reason with them, but they merely ignore him, so he just kills them all, not wasting time on the likes of these weaklings. Due to Kakarot's immense strength and not having the ability to suppress himself, anyone who can sense Ki immediately detects him and the fact that he's arrived on the planet. Kakarot can't use his scouter due to himself being detected by Frieza, so he has to fly around and hope for the best, aimlessly. As he begins flying around, a green arm grabs his leg and pulls him to the ground. He stands up, noticing a weird demon stood there, and clearly, he isn't happy. He exclaims like he didn't realize someone as strong as Kakarot was under Kami's control. At this, Kakarot becomes confused, not knowing what the hell this deranged freak is even on about. Piccolo attacks Kakarot, who would begin dodging his attacks with ease. He keeps trying to give him the offer about joining him and overthrowing Frieza, but Piccolo doesn't care. He constantly cuts him off with ki blasts or spouting his own nonsense about being the Demon King and not submitting to such weaklings like Kakarot. Eventually, Kakarot's had enough. He grabs both of Piccolo's arms and rips him off, staring him dead in the eyes. The supposed demon growls in pain as he fires a mouth blast at Kakarot. When the smoke clears, Kakarot is standing there unscathed. He opens his own mouth and fires a massive blast at Piccolo, engulfing him in it and leaving him badly damaged. Just as it looks bad for Piccolo, Kami shows up and tells them they should fuse to defeat this opponent. As Piccolo begins to agree, Kami takes the opportunity to off-guard him and uses the Mothaba to seal him away. More demons begin to close in, but 3 martial artists leap in and begin dismantling the army with ease. After all the demons are gone, the 4 people all come over to Kakarot to introduce themselves and thank him for saving them. They reveal their names being Kami, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tenshinhan, and begin explaining what's been happening on Earth. King Piccolo ended up taking over and snuffed out the remaining martial artists, leaving the rest of the world in terror. The trio are the only people they have left, besides of God, of course. But now Kakarot's freed them from Piccolo's oppression. Kakarot then explains his situation to them about Frieza. While this is quite bad, they are in his debt, so they offer their services into helping. Kami will also recreate the Dragon Balls and use them to assist any way they can, since they can't really revive most of the people who died. They'd repair Kami's ship with the help of Bulma, and the 4 then head off to a mecha, prepared for battle. By now, they had an army of over 100 people to help out, so now comes the hard part, the training. The leader of the Alliance would of course be named Kakarot by all the other Saiyans, meaning his responsibility to speak to them. Tarbell asks Kakarot if he knows what he's going to say, and he merely chuckles, saying no. But, he'll guess. Okay, hello everyone, my name is Kakarot, and I'll be the leader of the army we're going to have here today. So today, we finally started to train, so we're all prepared when going up against the big guy. If you can't make ki, or if you can't fight properly, go to train with Yamcha and Tarbell. And if you can, then train with that weird catfish-looking fellow. We have 6 months to prepare, so let's make sure to get the most out of it. While the speech wasn't exactly good, it did get the job done. The people all know what to do, so they go to do it. Since they still need to do their missions for Frieza, the Saiyans decide to take it in turns as to what 2-man group head out to do them. Over time, they manage to grow more and more, making the missions even easier, meaning they have more time to train. Tarbell and Yamcha would both be in charge of training up the fodder, as they are the most weak anyway, and probably won't be useful in battle. Through this, they'd bond about how they were both considered weaklings and tossed aside by life. Over with Paibara, the likes of Kakarot, Raditz, Broly, Krillin, and Tenshinhan train with him, along with the other soldiers with more skill. Raditz completes his training the quickest, stopping at learning only the instant transmission. To him, it's the most useful technique he can achieve with his goal. Next up would be Broly, however he isn't training to learn any kind of technique. Instead, he's training to tame his inner beast. Paibara would be helping Broly through these sessions, as he can create clones and teleport to avoid getting hurt, while at the same time giving Broly tips. While Broly is on the ways to getting it, he'll be cutting it pretty close to learning it by the time of 6 months. Kakarot and Tenshinhan will both follow shortly after, and begin to try and learn as much as possible. Tenshinhan learns the clone technique, since he can learn and truly perfect the multiform. As for Kakarot, he makes it his goal to learn everything. However, right now, he's attempting to just learn instant transmission. Krillin would be the last one to finish his training. Since they didn't bring any senzu beans, Krillin thinks it'd be handy to learn the healing technique, as they need some kind of way to heal people, or else they'll all die. Over with Nappa and Tora, they'd see training and skills as a waste of time. What they need to train is their Saiyan side. So the duo begin training their Ozaru forms, always making sure they target each other in the form. Both of them would learn to remain fully conscious in the form in almost record time for the Saiyans. Also, quick note, I believe they'd all learn ki control like the humans, so they'd be able to sense ki and suppress ki. Just feel like that'd be important to mention moving forward. Their power levels after training would be Kakarot, 85,400, Raditz, 25,200, Broly, 15,750, Enraged Broly, 157,500, Tarbell, 8,125, Nappa, 12,825, Tora, 13,500, Yamcha, 6,195, Krillin, 10,094, Tenshinhan, 15,619. After 4 months into the training, while everyone is doing their typical things, a huge explosion goes off from ki blasts surrounding them and taking down a lot of the soldiers, not immediately prepared. Everyone turns and sees Frieza, Zarbon, Dodoria, Qui, and the Ginyu Force, as well as a bunch of soldiers. They all just suddenly appeared, as if out of thin air. Frieza remarks how he thinks it's cute the monkeys thought they had a chance of beating him. Kakarot stares Frieza dead in the eyes, shouting that he killed his parents, killed his friends. He won't ever forgive him. Yes, how painful it must have been for you, poor little baby Kakarot. I wish all the Saiyans were just naive as you, but frankly, one is much smarter than the rest. Before questions can go off as to who they mean, a loud snap can be heard behind them. They all turn and see Tarble's lifeless body being held by his now snapped neck. They then look and see Raditz smiling a sinister grin. My man on the inside told me everything, showed me the message from the former king, told me where you decided to set up your pathetic coup, and even helped with his infiltration mission, thanks to that handy teleportation technique he picked up. And that's not all. Raditz begins to charge up an aura surrounding his body as he does so. His power begins rising higher and higher, sending shockwaves of fear upon everyone on the side of the Saiyans. As Raditz begins to power up, his power surpasses that of Kakarot, and then Ginyu, finally capping at 200,000. All you Saiyans labeled me as weak, incapable to live. Are you sure you're the Prince, Raditz? You're just a useless failure, Raditz. Be more like your brother, Raditz. Well, who's laughing now, you pathetic, insignificant worms? I'll kill you all. I'll kill you all, I swear. And that's going to leave it here. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment below what's happening in the next part. If you like that cliffhanger, please let me know down below. And if you want a 2.5 detailing Raditz's plan in like excruciating detail, just let me know. And so yeah, bye.